Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
So let's get to it.
Bring the pain!
What's up, everybody? This is Heat Overrided. I'm ready to bring the pain for you and Dr. Roto this week. Ooh, yeah, that's right. The Ultra Contrarian Show is back, and Steve is too. What's up, Fuego Steve? How you doing? Doing good today, brother.
I'm doing well. Thanks, man. Good to be back. And man, you got to be excited, I bet. Oh, man, you got to be jumping out of your skin for tomorrow's game. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one, And oh man, but it's good to be back. I've had a lot to do and deal with NBA, and just couldn't make it last week. But we're ready to get into this. We are one game away from the Super Bowl. I can't believe the season's over, and it's been a great season.
Whoa.
And yeah, it has been a wild season, and I'm seeing all my memories pop up from Ravens Super Bowls from like Joe Flacco. But I know you're. So let's get to it, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's another one of those crazy Saturdays, and of course the UFC. I seen Tips, are one of our subscribers at Dr. Roto, who was just on my show last week. He's popping through, and he's all ready for some UFC. He gets to play for some USC, so I'm pretty excited for that as well too. And I think the best part about this time of the year is you just got to be thankful. I'm thankful that as a Rams fan to be still rooting for my team, even though I've been talking stuff and going Patriots, Super Bowl, and all this crazy wild crap bullshit, man. But we're here to talk DFS football. If you haven't watched the Ultra Contrarian Show, you got to check us out next year, because we only got 2 more shows. Next one's we're going to do literally a showdown slate. But we got 2 games. We're going to give our best picks. We're going to give out lineups of a DFS hero lineup at the end of this episode so that you can play that. That's, of course, a simulated lineup. So you'll get that as well, too. Get over to DFS Hero. Use code word DOC. Get 20% off of your subscription. Get to Dr. Roto right now. Use code word WIN, and you can become our rich friend. Steve has been tearing it up amongst everybody else in the NBA chat. Some NHL stuff's been happening. Of course, UFC is back tonight. We have a lot of bets and DFS lineups. There's a free 100% money back guarantee for DK DFS up for grabs on DK right now. That it's a $5 lineup. Go find a $5 lineup, $5 double up. Hit that switch, try to double up your money and win some more money for tomorrow, and take this advice and win some NFL stuff. Steve, man, I'm jacked up. You're right, dude. All these sports we got going on. We got golf going on, bro.
Everything. And this is the time of year where this week and then the Super Bowl, all the sites are going to be offering promos. They want to get in, they want to get your money, and then they want to keep it for the other sports, So take advantage of all the promos that are being offered. All the sites are having promos, deposit bonuses, and take advantage. Like if you're playing Pick Six and stuff, we don't do a lot of talk about that on this show, but, hit us up for advice if you want, stuff like that. But take advantage of the stat slices and all those other things that they give you, 30% winning boosts and things like that. Make sure you opt into all that stuff, because you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I got into a single entry tournament, 800 people, $1,000 first place, but I get my $5 back if I don't get it for the UFC. So, that's just what it is, but it's the same with NFL. I've noticed that DK was running a lot of 25% of your buy-in entry back if it loses. So that's something new, something good to look forward to for maybe baseball season. And the fact that they did it with the UFC, DK is definitely going to buy in with this Paramount deal. This is a big deal, people. The UFC has stepped away from paid pay-per-views, at least for most people in the States. We're not paying for this today and not next week. So that's why it's free with Paramount, and that's what makes it more accessible to other people. You don't have to go to the pirated sites or anything like that. That's what's awesome. But, man, we're here to talk NFL football, brother, man. Let's get to it. You ready to talk quarterbacks? Ooh, yeah.
Let's talk quarterback. Yeah.
My quarterback. My quarterback, bro. It's Matt Stafford. 6,300 on DraftKings, 8,300 on FanDuel. I gotta buy into Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford in his games against Seattle has already blown up 33 in his second game just a couple weeks ago. And then of course that first game that Seattle and LA had, he only had 13 points. Darnold had 8 points. I'll flip back over to Darnold too. Darnold had 21 in their last game, but since then Darnold has been a piece of shit. And that is the key for the Rams winning and going on to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, the simulators like Stidham. You talking about Drake May? Who you looking at, my brother?
Well, that's what I was going to say. You should have had the NFC logo on your side. But,
I can mirror that, but
that's right. Anyway, Stafford's my man. I had him in the Heat IDP league that I took down everybody. And so there you go. I love Stafford. Stafford has the highest ceiling for GPPs, which I love. I'm the GPP guy. So I think if you're looking at the 4 quarterbacks on the slate, Stafford, May, Darnold, and Stidham, Stafford has the highest ceiling, and I know Seattle's got a great defense. We all know that, but the ceiling's there. And last week, he only had 10 points, but other games this year, he's been amazing. We all know it. 5,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. So I think it's funny. He had 0 rushing yards this year, 0. But 0. I mean, not even I know you lose yards on sacks. I don't know, but 0.
It evened out the first down rushes that they never did with him.
Yeah. So I like Stafford. May is a great play. I think you can play May. The problem with May is if they get up early, they should stop throwing. Now, that doesn't mean they will. This is the NFL, and anything can happen. We all know that. It's been a crazy playoffs, and we've seen, crazy year. Teams come back from the fourth quarter, yada, yada. So maybe they don't take but, they have Stevenson, et cetera. So I think, but those are your 2 highest ceilings. In GPPs, I'm not playing the Denver quarterback. I think the Patriots are going to come after him and come after him hard. I do not think he can get it done on such short notice. I just don't. I don't think. Now you might want to say, "Oh, I can save $1,800." I mean, what's his ceiling? They're going to get down to sling it, but. And then with Darnold, I don't really like Darnold. I don't think there's any reason to play Darnold this week. I do not think he has a high ceiling in GPPs compared to Stafford and May. So I'm staying away from Darnold instead of him.
Dude, so there was a guy that went into my stream, me and Dan's stream on Thursday, and was screaming Ben DiNucci from the top of the ceiling. And I'm like, unless Stidham is that bad or gets hurt, that you're not going to see DiNucci, because I think they're going to play Engler above him, but they are both on the roster. Of course, this isn't tomorrow. We don't know if he's going to be on the main roster when that game starts tomorrow. But that was like, man, I'm not even looking at that. You're correct. I don't really like the Denver quarterback. I will have Stidham on a lineup, one lineup. And that lineup will be off of the money I win today at UFC. But when you're looking at the rest of this, you're looking at Darnold. And the one thing that really sticks out about Darnold is he's in the last, since the bye week, he's had 5 games over, 5 games over double points. Now, of course, a couple of those games are 20 points. One was 30 points, but one was 10 points too, or 11 points. And when I look at those 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 4, 4.1, I don't want none of that. And if the Rams playoff defense shows up the way they were doing it, you're going to be looking at what that Minnesota defense did to Seattle in Seattle.
That's right. And we're going to get to the running backs in a second, but look at his last 3. And I mean, last week they won 41-6. He had 9 points. He only threw 17 times and completed 12. And why are you going to throw? Now, he may have to throw, but even the week before, 8 points. And I'm looking at this 8 points. No, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll have one lineup with him too, but most of my lineups will be Stafford, of course, and then May. So move along to running back since you brought that up. Let's get to it. Kyron Williams. We all know I'm gonna love me some Kyron Williams. 6,500 on DraftKings, 8,600 on FanDuel. We all know he's the top. He's the top running back. He showed last week. He made me look like I was a genius by making him the macho pick of the week. And that being said, it was one of those things where they saved him for this time, and Blake Corum was hardly to be found, brother.
Yeah. We've got a running back's an interesting one, but with Charbonnet out, I will say,
yes,
it makes Walker a great play, So, and in my mind, you got 4 to choose from, unless you think Henderson. So you got 5. And then if you really want to go, like take a chance on someone lower, I mean, Corum, he had, but that's not for me in GPPs. So we really don't have too many running backs to talk about as well.
Ooh, yeah, I agree with that, Steve Ski. Ooh, yeah, the macho pick of the week is, by the way, Kenneth the Walker third. Ooh, yeah.
I think you have to play him. You have to play him.
You gotta play Williams and Walker, dude.
Yeah. Williams, you definitely is almost must play as well because of the amount of attempts and involved he is as well. But Walker with Charbonnet out now at home. Even if it's a back and forth game, but their defense, if their defense, we just talked about how we don't like Sam Darnold. So if their defense is keeping him in check, Stafford in check,
right.
So was in check last week, for example, then they're just going to feed Walker and feed Walker and feed Walker. I like Stevenson. I think Stevenson.
Yeah, because they're going to have to pass to him. That's why I don't like Henderson. I brought that up a little earlier in the week. Henderson's like their running back, right? He's like Jerome Bettis, but he's not Jerome Bettis. They just have no trust in him. And Stevenson is more comfortable. May is more comfortable with Stevenson in the passing packages. That's going to be a big key to beating Denver because they're not going to get the success that James Cook had last week because, unfortunately, James Cook is better than Stevenson.
Yeah, and I think he can even have a little success against Denver running the ball. But if they want to say, you know what, let's go ahead and we're going into Denver with their backup quarterback. Let's throw this ball around. Let's beat these guys. He'll be involved in the running game as well. So I do like Stevenson. And like you said, your boy Williams, I know he's going against one of the best defenses, but he's just so involved in the offense. And then, Harvey, I don't really like Harvey for GPPs. A lot of people seem to be liking Harvey. He's got a tough defense. And again, we're talking about the backup quarterback. So yeah, he might need to give him the ball, but what's it going to do? So I'm for GPPs, I'm not going Harvey.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. When we get to my ultra contrarian labs, of course, I've already kind of told you one of them. You haven't seen the FanDuel one, but at the same time, it's kind of just what it is. It's at that point where I'm just fine with just Walker and Williams and just not touching anybody else. I mean, people are going to be like, what about Lucius Jones? What about Haloni? Like, I don't care about those guys. If I'm going to pay $4,000 for one of those guys, I'm going to pay $3,800 for my wide receiver that I'm highlighting, Cooper Kupp, $3,800 on DraftKings and $5,800 on FanDuel. I said play Cooper Kupp last week. He went 5 for 5, and that right there was the slate slayer himself, and that was the difference. Steve, who are you looking at?
For wide receiver?
Yeah. I mean, we all know JSN. We've talked about JSN, Puka Nacua, Adams.
Right. Obviously, if you're playing Stafford, you match him up with Nacua. JSN, I'm not loving JSN this week, but obviously, JSN and Nacua are, the super high ceiling wide receivers on the slate. If I do one of the two, I'm going Nacua personally, because we just talked about how we like. And we talked about how much Stafford throws the ball, and we don't like. So if I'm one of the two, I'm going with Nacua. And then, I think you got some interesting choices on New England. You got Diggs, of course. You got Booty, and so I think you got Hollins who's out. So if you really wanted to go pay low and take a chance on Douglas, but he only had a couple targets last week. But I think, both those guys are viable on New England. And then your choice. Now, let's say, okay, Denver gets down. Well, they got to throw. So you got Sutton, you got Bryant, and you got Mims. All three are viable options because they probably will have to throw the ball, whether they're successful or not, yet to be determined, right?
That's right.
That's right. And obviously Sutton, the number one, so you pay up a little more for him. Backup quarterbacks are normally going to look to number one. But the other thing is with backup quarterbacks, you never know. You get a backup quarterback in there who's been practicing, say, with Mims, and then all of a sudden, Mims or Bryant or something has a good game. Right. So you never know with the backup quarterbacks. But again, if we think New England's going to get up and start going, they will have to throw the ball.
I agree with that too. And it took a whole quarter to get Sutton even going last week, so that really marred his point total. He only had 9.3. But I am fine with Pat Bryant back, who was on a tear, 3 for 3 at the beginning of that game. First drive, that's all I had. I had Pat Bryant 3 catches. He got the 3 catches. I didn't play the yards, and so I made out like a bandit. That's why I don't always play the yards. I like the catches more because at least I'm getting that volume. I know that I'm getting that. And for me, I think that Pat Bryant could be a lot of sway. When I was listening to SiriusXM, Doc had some of the guys on as well as a lot of the other people calling in. There was talks of Mims, there was talks of Shaheed, and there was talks of Pop Douglas. But I didn't hear anybody talking too much about Cooper Kupp, and a lot of people weren't talking about Pat Bryant. And that's why I think that if you're going to pull one of those, somebody like Kayshon Boutte scored for us last week when Dan said that he's going to take Boutte a long time on a long touchdown, and he hit it. And I was able to play that. That really worked out. Now, there is word that Matt Collins is listed as questionable for this game. It's not true that he's going to be in. If he is in, it all depends on how much they want to use him. So I think they might save him for more of the Super Bowl because that package would work better against Seattle in LA rather than against the Broncos. And I think that they're going to have to go over the top. They're going to have to use Boutte down, deep, low. So I do like Boutte for that. But if Hollins does play, I might have to reel it back a little bit on that. Go, Bryant.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Let's go to tight end. We were talking about tight ends, and I feel that this week, this could be a Terrence Ferguson week. Terrence Ferguson is 2,700 on DraftKings. He is 4,700 on FanDuel. Everybody, of course, me at the beginning of the week, Higbee, right? I wanted Higbee in. And, of course, Parkinson. And, of course, Barner. But I feel that Ingram is going to be that cheap way out for Stidham. And I feel that the 5 targets plus 1 dropped touchdown for Ferguson last week would have made him different. If the Rams give Ferguson, and that's the guy that always steals touchdowns, they say, give Ferguson those end zone touchdowns. Ferguson could be less than 10% owned. It could produce over 10 fantasy points this Sunday tomorrow. What do you think?
I like it. That's a good call. And, it's gotten much more complicated with their tight end situation. I still think Parkinson's a good play. He still got 7 targets left. 7 targets. Seattle's not great against the tight end, which is one of their, I believe, weaknesses. So they got 3 of them to throw. So Ferguson, if you're playing Stafford, like you said, 5 targets, 4 targets before that, 4, and he had 13 and 12 points the week before. I'll take that in the GPP for sure.
Yep.
So that's a great way to save money. If you want to pay up for Hunter Henry, I will allow it. It's allowed.
I like it. I think Hunter Henry will be used this week.
Yeah, and if you're going to play May, it's not a bad play. I think Barner is not a bad play as well because depending again back to the whole what we were talking about before. If they're trying to keep it tight, they're going to maybe use him instead of maybe taking their chances with JSN if it's a close game.
That's right.
JSN. So Barner's not bad. And Ingram, I kind of like Ingram for Denver because, again, backup quarterback. He might have to check it down a lot. Maybe he's not familiar with this, that, and the other. So who you do that to sometimes is, or a lot of the time, maybe your tight end. So I think Ingram is a fine play as well. So you do have some choices there at tight end this week. And you really don't have to pay too much up. Now, 4,800 for Henry. I may not do it. and you could save like 2,100 to go down to Ferguson. But there's no McBride, there's none of these guys on there where we have to decide $7,000 or something like that, right?
Yeah, you could just honestly, you could even do what something like people like you would do with the GPPs, throw in Henry and Barner or Henry and Parkinson, maybe Barner and Parkinson, try to be different and try to just do that, in the flex position is what I'm talking about, because we had just talked about going away from that. On top of that, when I see all these people going for these wide receivers at $4,000, $4,400, Cooper Kupp $3,800, maybe we're just going to pay down for somebody like Engram and put him in that flex position to be able to use it that. But you're still going to need money, because me and you both know you have to have Puka Nacua in JSN in your lineup this week. I mean, you could probably put out JSN or Puka for Adams. Trying to get all three in is going to be insane, but those two guys got to be in your lineup, man.
I actually just adjusted my Drake May lineup and put Hunter Henry in there.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of that when we get to it. But yeah, exactly, because why not? Again, and that's another thing. If our game theory is correct and New England's gonna win this game, then they might start running, check down to the tight end, get close to the end zone, throw to Hunter Henry.
That's it.
And then obviously, if you're a quarterback, you need people to match him up with. So.
Exactly. And I want to say this too, is that Hunter Henry's a better matchup against the Broncos than he was against the Buffalo Bills. So Hunter Henry right now and that's what I talked about all week as well too, is that Hunter Henry is going to be needed in this game, because if that Denver defense does lock them up, it's going to be a very low scoring game. And once that happens, the guy in the middle of the field counts. It's going to be Hunter Henry. That's what I feel. And once they get that, go on.
Continue. No, continue.
I was going to say, once you hit that touchdown over the middle to Hunter Henry, Denver's going to cheat up. Booty. There we go.
And let's not forget, he had a bad game last week, but he had a pretty freaking good year. 837 yards, 64 catches, and 8 touchdowns. That's he was one of the better tight ends obviously this year. So it's not no offense, but it's not like having to pick between one of the Rams. He's the number one tight end in New England. We know he's the number one tight end in New England, and we know that he may have very well opportunities to catch a touchdown or some yards, so things like that. So you get him, he gets 50 yards and a touchdown, you're golden.
Exactly. And that's kind of the eye. And yes, I know I brought up the Buffalo Bills and stuff like that. I use that as an example. I do know that the Houston Texans were the guys he played last week. So just for everybody out there that's like, wait a minute, he'd override. Hey. I was trying to use it as a pass defense, because that's what the Broncos have, is a great pass defense. So that being said,
don't remind me about the Bills, please, my friend. After the devastating Pittsburgh loss, my Ravens, I got my Ravens hat here. My friend, he texted me. He's like, what? You don't like the Bills? I was like, not the current Bills. I was like, you don't remember the Bills like in the beginning of this year and last year's playoff and blah, 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 blah. He's like, I was like, I remember. I said, I like the Bills with Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly. That's how old.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's right. So, but,
they were losing then too.
Yeah. I remember. We'll make this quick, and I remember this was back. We were in college, and it was one of the 4 Super Bowls with the Bills, and Don Beebe was a receiver for the Buffalo Bills. Don Beebe, right? So we were gambling, and it was the Super Bowl, and we put in with our bookie. I think it was like, who to score the first touchdown, right? Thurman Thomas was 3-1, Andre, all these guys, and Don Beebe, I want to say was like 35 or 50-1, something in that. And we put we pooled a bunch of money between like 4 or 5 of us, put like $100 on it. He caught a long freaking touchdown and was tackled at like the 2, and then Thurman Thomas runs it in. But we were in college. We're like, we're about to make like a couple $1,000. They're like, oh man. So
that would have been great. You'd had to buy a beer bong that weekend.
They didn't win, unfortunately. But let's move on to defense.
Defense, man. I mean, you know I love my Chief defenses. Denver Broncos defense, 12 points against Buffalo, and Buffalo ran them up. I'll take 12 points in a shootout game like that because I don't think that'll happen. They're definitely going to get the sacks as well, too, against New England. So don't count out Denver, right? Boom. Zach Allen, there's your prop for your sack. And that's probably a plus 225. I don't even got to look. 21 points against the Chargers. Again, we of course know that Kansas City was hapless, and that Jacksonville still kind of got up on them too, but they were still had 4 points. I'm good with them being 2,500. Of course, you brought up the Patriots. The Seattle Seahawks, I feel, might be the best overall defense, but I will never stray away from the LA Rams. They get that sack game going. They take that game over, fumbles. They'll tear Seattle apart.
I think, and that's not is that a homer pick from Heat? I don't think so. I think he tells the truth. And I think all four defenses are in play. I think you can play all four, any of these four, and have success. We don't know what's going to happen. These are the playoffs. If you look, Patriots, I think, are an obvious choice against a backup quarterback. Yes, it's on the road in Denver. 14 interceptions this year, 11 fumble recoveries. They averaged 8.5 DraftKings points a game. That had to be one of the best, So, they got 20 last week, 15, 12, 7, 5. Those are, when you're breaking double digits 3 weeks in a row, those are big numbers. So I think they're an obvious choice if you want to pay up a little bit at 3,500 on DraftKings. Broncos, that's a good play, 71 sacks this year. I mean, so
right?
I think if you want to play, you play the Broncos. Rams, I think, I don't know if the upside is there for me for the Rams, but I think, they did have 20 interceptions. So they're certainly in play. And if you look at their points, they're getting points every week, 7, 5, 11, 8, 8, 8, and average 7.8. So, and then again, now, and then the Seahawks, we know how good the Seahawks defense is. So I think all four are in play, depending how you work the rest of your lineup, depending who you think. You might have a gut feeling about something, this, that, or the other. And of course, we always say we cannot predict defensive touchdowns, and that's probably
That's right.
That's probably what's going to happen. One of these teams gets a kickoff return, gets a touchdown, and that is going to end up being the best defense. And unfortunately, me and Heat cannot predict that defensive touchdown.
That's for sure, dude.
We can try to predict and sacks lead to those things. Interceptions lead to those things, but 98-yard kickoff return for touchdowns. I wish we could predict.
Dude, yeah, and that's why, and that's what a lot of Doc was talking about today too, with Shaheed is Shaheed being able to make that next level of touchdown. Like maybe he catches 1 or 2 passes, if he gets a kick return touchdown and he gets an offensive touchdown, that'll be the only 2 plays he makes. But with those 2 plays, he's definitely poised to make a big play. But for me, I'm just going to stay away from that. I'm going to play the players I trust. I'm going to play the players that got me here because I'm hearing the sways. I'm hearing everything on the radio. But what we've talked about so far has been what everybody else hasn't talked about, bringing up Pat Bryant, going with the double tight end instead of trying to bring it in and trying to figure out, going back with Cooper Kupp so that we could get that extra play right there. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're getting to. And this is the part of the show that everybody comes for: free DFS lineups, free plays. And where's the guy going? How do you want to break this down, man? Do you want me? We all know that my macho pick is Kenneth Walker.
I do like your Cooper Kupp, by the way. Play, by the way. That's a decent play. So for only 3,800. That's a good play. Let's do it any way you want, Heat. Let's fire it up. It's cold outside, so
which player deserves the Fuego pick of the week?
That's a tough call. I could stick with my boy, and he's your boy too. And I think it's Nakua. I think Nakua, you get him in your lineup. He's the highest price on the slate. He quote unquote only had 11 points last week, 5 catches on 10 targets, but we know what he did all year. 1,882 receiving yards. And also last week, Stafford missed him a couple times. He missed him wide open in the end zone.
Yes, he did. Wide open.
Wide open in the end zone. I don't know. And they said Stafford's hands were cold. I understand that, but come on, man. He was wide open. It wasn't a 50. I was like, what are you doing? So
I know that was bad. He missed a couple plays in that game. I was like,
And then I'm thinking, just give him the freaking hand warmers, man. I mean, if his hands are that cold, just give him the freaking hand warmers, and it's probably going to be cold in Seattle. I mean, it's going to be cold everywhere. So make sure. But Nakua, that was like that was only the first week in a while that he's had less than 20, and these numbers for GPPs, 37, 26, 49, 30, 38. That's what a PP player looks at. So I think you got to play Nakua.
Yeah, and I don't mind it. I want to say what's up, Jerry Blake. It's been great talking with you all year long in the Snubs Only Discord at Dr. Roto as well too. So definitely much love, man. It's great to see you pop through. We got a Seahawks fan here, JJB. That's some fun stuff. We would get to it, but hey, let's throw out the DFS Hero lineup of the week. So we got that. Remember, get the DFS Hero. Use code WORKDOC, get 20% off your lineup. We'll do that, and then Steve will get into your lineup, and then I'll give out the Ultra Contrarian lineups, and we'll weigh in. All right. DFS Hero got Stidham, Harvey, Walker, Kupp, Adams, JSN, Barner, Nakua, Broncos. Thoughts?
I like it, except for GPPs. My feeling on that. But you're getting the high end guys in there. So that's another thing. Like you talked about before, if you think that he's going to get 10 points, the Broncos quarterback or whatever he may get, and then JSN goes off, for example, then you got it for GPPs. So yeah.
I would actually move Nakua straight up into the wide receiver position, come off of Cooper Kupp, and maybe at that point go Parkinson. Go Parkinson Barner, like we were talking about earlier. So that would be a sway that I would make for that I feel that Parkinson's going to get more targets than Cooper Kupp. So I feel that if you were going to play that lineup, then you move that, and then you move off of Parkinson, you do that. But you're only getting that because you're coming off of Williams and going down to Harvey. And Williams' overall work should equal what Harvey's going to get in the catching game. And we saw last week that Harvey couldn't even get the 40 yards. Cost me a couple parlays, but at least I round robin those, and I was able to return my money because he only got 20 yards rushing, but he got those 6 targets. So I like it. Who you got for a lineup there, my brother?
All right, so we got one with your boy Stafford. All right, so this is a Stafford lineup. I don't play Williams in this lineup. I play Stafford, Stevenson, Walker, Brute, Diggs, or you could go up to Adams if you want, depending on what's your situation. But I have Diggs, Sutton, Ferguson, Nakua, and the Patriots defense. So that is, you got $300 left over if you want to come off Ferguson. If you want to go up from Sutton or Diggs maybe to Adams, you could do that. We talked how we haven't loved Adams, but that's one lineup right there that is my Stafford lineup on DraftKings that I like. And then the other one, I made a Drake May lineup. So let's go over here to the Drake May lineup. You got May, Walker again. I think you got to, he could have been the Fuego pick too. You pretty much got to play
That's
Walker. True. May, Walker, Williams, Booty, Kupp, Sutton, Henry, Nakua, Patriots defense. And if you wanted to drop down from the Patriots defense, you could upgrade somewhere else. But I like that one too. That leaves you nothing left over though. That's zeroed out. But I took the idea with Kupp. You pair May with Booty and Henry. You run it back with Sutton on the other end. You get Nakua, the Patriots defense. But you could, if you think you want to get another Denver wide receiver in there or something like that instead. But that's one of my May lineups right there.
I like it, man. And we got the Stidham. You got a Stafford lineup. We now have a May lineup. So let's get to it. Let's get to the Ultra Contrarian lineups. Ooh, yeah. We're headed to DK first. Stafford, Williams, Walker, Nakua, Butte, Kupp, Higbee, Ferguson. You can move off of Higbee with Ferguson. Go in. Of course, JSN is my flex. Broncos defense. You can upgrade the Broncos defense to the Rams defense when you come off of Higbee and go Ferguson. Over to FanDuel. We're going Stafford, Williams, Walker, JSN, Butte, Cup, Ferguson, or Higbee. They're practically the same price. I'm going Little Jordan Humphrey in that lineup. I had to go with a cheap one to actually get that lineup in. So FanDuel was a little more cruel. And then, of course, Rams defense on that one, too, because the Rams defense is the cheapest defense on FanDuel, whereas Broncos is the cheapest on DraftKings. Now, the Little Jordan Humphrey ones kind of got me going. So I'm going to go revisit that, talk about those lineups, and talk about, what you see is in those that you might like as well.
I like them. I like them quite a bit. And, I ran that Stafford lineup without Williams before. I have one with Williams that we can hear if you want to, but, that's a good lineup. And, keep in mind, everyone, that we're trying to get you, he's trying to get you to cash, get some money, and then put it into the other sports and you play, and I'm trying to give you the type lineups. So, and of course, sometimes they end up reverse. You never know.
They do. They do.
Sometimes you think you're playing guaranteed stuff and it doesn't work out, or you think you're, or you think someone's going to be chalk. But we also do our best to Ultra Contrarian, give you a different perspective,
different look, a different idea. Because everybody's going to be honest. There's people who do this full time. We have to work real jobs. We have to do real things. Steve has his hands cut out for him with basketball. Basketball is annoying as shit to me some days. He knows that. I talk to him all the time. He sees me on my rants. He sees me when my ADHD, I forget about game lock. So
It's not just annoying to you.
All right.
Yes.
So I'm going to revise. The Ultra Contrarian lineup for FanDuel, actually, Barner is the same price as Little Jordan Humphrey. Humphrey would be your sway. If you get Barner in there, that's perfect. If you come off of Higbee and go with Ferguson, you get an extra $200. That $200 gets you up to Pop Douglas. So you have Pop Douglas, Humphrey, Barner, Ingram, and Pat Bryant to choose from $5,000 to $5,300. I love that lineup on there, but I think that I'm actually going to stick with Barner. I think Barner might be my sway with Ferguson and hope that, or go with Higbee and Barner. And if that hits, then you got it all.
Yeah, and Douglas is we didn't talk about him, but that's a sneaky play, compared to, I think you definitely can play Douglas in a GBP to upgrade elsewhere if you want to be contrarian for sure.
That is. Well, Steve, it looks like we destroyed another slate. We talked a lot about game theory. We gave everybody the information that they need to win tomorrow. You can sway. You can play the cash game lineup. You could build that cash game lineup. You could go for the big money with Steve. We gave out like 7 or 8 lineups on this podcast. There's not any show on the internet that does that. They, let alone, don't even give out one lineup because they're scared. And that's something that we do because we always say it with our chest, Steve.
That's right. And, and we admit our mistakes and we do. I like to prop myself up when we win. You got to do both. You got to tell people when you win. And I sometimes I think I apologize too much, but I don't like giving bad advice either. But we stand by our advice. Good, bad, or the ugly, good, bad, or the ugly. We stand by it. And most of the time, or more times than not, we're bringing in the cash.
That's right. And the thing is that's because that's what game theory on this show, the Ultra Contrarian show, does. And then the fight theory for the Fight Club of Pain, that is the product that bring the pain. And of course, I thank Dan in coming on, and I thank you 1,000 times over that this is what we created this year. This is what we've done. We talk theory because computers can't predict theory.
That's correct. And along those lines, just remember, get in some of those single entry and 2-3 max this weekend, because with only 2 games, if you enter the millionaire when they're putting 150 lineups, you cannot compete. You can't.
Nope.
You just can't do it because they're going to have every player that you can possibly imagine. So get in those single entry tournaments and then picking you. get an even fair fight. You know what I'm saying? Get a fair fight.
You could either go in a single entry and cash game lineups with Heat and Steve, or you could go try to take down Trevor in the GPPs. And good luck with that. Good luck with that. Much love for our guy Trevor, dude.
That's the most annoying thing about basketball. If you get to those big ones, some of these guys have some guy, and even me, as much research as I tried to do, I'm like, what? Who the heck was that? You know, and then, but that's what their algorithms do. They can pick every single player, which is fine. That's fine. I have nothing against that in particular. Hey, if that's how you want to do it, but it's unless you're going to compete with them. Stick to the single, 2-3 max, that kind of thing.
That's what we do. All right, brother man, I'm going to tell you thanks again. Much love. Crazy days, crazy Saturdays. Let's win some money. Let's win some money at UFCs. Join Dr. Roto, and always remember to bring the pain. Thank you, Steve, brother.
And good luck to you. Good luck to the Rams. Good luck, man. Yeah. Good luck.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. Until the next visit, be well and take care.